Recognition of Indigenous peoples is in the news locally, and not just because it's American Indian Heritage Month in North Carolina.
And the state receives a multi-million-dollar grant to fight the drug overdose crisis. I'm Jayla Coley.
And I'm Mahala Trace. Those stories plus, what is UNCP doing to support first-generation college students?
Stay tuned, we'll tell you on Carolina News Today. Tomorrow, the U.S. Senate Committee on Indian Affairs will hold a legislative hearing on the Lumbee Recognition Act. The law passed the U.S. House of Representatives on November 1st. It passed in the House last year as well, and 2 times before that. But typically, the tribe's federal recognition gets stalled at the Senate. This time around, both of North Carolina senators are on the record to support the law. Full federal recognition will mean the tribe has access to Indian health service and certain economic benefits. Lumbee Tribal Chairman Harvey Godwin will speak at the virtual meeting tomorrow afternoon.
UNCP's Board of Trustees has approved a land acknowledgement statement for formal occasions. The statement is intended to honor and recognize Indigenous people as the original inhabitants of the land that the university sits on today. Chancellor Cummings announced in an email to the campus community his intent to use these sentences as events such as commencement. The new statement expresses responsibility to safeguard the land and to respect the sovereignty of the Lumbee tribe. Cummings encouraged students to attend events scheduled this month for American Indian Heritage Month to learn more about Native cultures and communities.
Last week, the Chancellor recognized veterans as an integral part of university life at Pembroke. At the annual Veterans Day ceremony, he praised the work ethic of veteran students and staff.
What we see here on campus with our ROTC, our active duty, our veterans, you bring a discipline, you bring a strong work ethic, you bring a valuable world experience and viewpoint to this campus that no other student can bring. You know the respect for authority. You know the value of authority, and you're willing to work for a goal, and you've experienced, as I say, life as few people have.
A field of honor had been laid out earlier in the week at the Water Feature Amphitheater. At Thursday's ceremony, students and ROTC served as the color guard. The new Director of Academic and Military Outreach, Jasmine Coleman, made remarks on the origins of Veterans Day. This year, the event coincided with the centennial of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Arlington. Military-affiliated students make up about 15% of the total enrollment at UNCP. The school earned GOAT status this year as a military-friendly college from the company called Victory that helps other businesses and schools to recruit from the military community.
Last week was First Generation College Students Week, so the Office of New Student Programs worked hard to empower students who are the first in their family to attend college.
My name is Dalton Hoffer. I'm the Assistant Director for Transition Programs and New Student Programs here at UNC Pembroke. We have created an initiative called Gen 1, which is a program to empower and engage and celebrate first generation Braves here at UNC Pembroke. This past week, we pulled together a team of departments all across UNCP's campus to put a week of celebration for these first generation students and provide them resources that they need to be successful. So we started on National First Generation Celebration Day, which is on November 8th of this year, and we did a big kickoff event in the University Center where we had t-shirts and we had around 12 different offices on campus offering resources that we felt that UNCP students that identify as first gen might need. Also, the Transfer and Commuter Center is a recently created department, and we felt like it was ideal to engage them and reach our commuter and transfer students that identify as first generation as well. We then brought Dr. Sonja Arden to campus, who has done a lot of research and has studied first generation students. She spoke to our first generation Braves about her story and other stories that she's encountered over the many years of her work, and it was really inspiring, and I hope that it motivates and encourages other first generation students on our campus to be successful.
The North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality has announced 2 new actions that the Chemours Company must take to address contamination of well water in the region. First, Kenmore's must assess the extent of Gen X contamination downstream of their Fayetteville plant by sampling wells and must provide replacement drinking water. DEQ had already determined that the Kenmores is responsible for contamination of groundwater in New Hanover County and potentially Pender, Brunswick, and Columbus counties. Second, the company must review their sampling program in communities directly surrounding the plant to determine who's eligible for whole house filtration and public water hookups.
Bloomberg Philanthropies is making a $120 million investment to help combat the overdose crises in 5 hard-hit states, including North Carolina. These 5 new states will join Michigan and Pennsylvania in the Overdose Prevention Initiative. They'll receive $10 million each in support over the next 5 years. All of these states have a high-burden overdose deaths falling within the top 25 of states. They'll use the money to focus on ensuring medication access, engaging local communities, and supporting people who use drugs. Lessons learned from the pilot programs in Michigan and Pennsylvania are being used to create models of best practices in fighting drug abuse.
A North Carolina mother who recently gave birth to twins is facing an aggressive form of stage 4 lung cancer. The 28-year-old Durham woman is refusing to give up, and her partner and community are standing behind her courageous battle.
Vinalina Vativa and Lindsay Saunders share a beautiful love story.
It was love at first sight.
Now, married for 5 years, the two have always wanted to start a family of their own.
And we've always wanted kids. And he decided to do IUI and for me to carry the baby.
On the first attempt, she got pregnant with not 1, but 2 babies.
It's just like, oh God.
They knew they would face unique circumstances throughout their journey, but never imagined something like this.
One day it came just to the point where I just could not walk. I couldn't breathe. It was just a sharp, like someone is stabbing you in the back.
Symptoms began such as nausea, fatigue, and persistent coughing. They say doctors told her it was pregnancy or allergy related, but the debilitating pain forced them to push for more answers.
And they diagnosed pneumonia, so they treated the pneumonia for like 5 days and sent her home. And then literally 24 hours later, we were back in the ER.
After several tests, they received the most earth-shattering news. 23 weeks into the pregnancy and just before Vativa's 28th birthday, stage 4 lung cancer.
Something that doesn't make sense, and it'll never make sense because she doesn't have a family history.
Someone who's already pregnant with twins, to have that added component of chemotherapy is just not.
The news of her diagnosis sparked support from all over the Triangle.
It really restores my faith in people.
And in July, she gave birth to healthy twins, a boy and girl.
Definite joy and happiness and all of the wonderful things, but it's definitely, there's this kind of, I don't know, for me, like this looming shadow of grief and pain.
As they cherish the small milestones with their little ones, they're battling another complication. Vativa recently learned she has a rare mutation, preventing the medicine from working.
It doubled its size in my lungs.
While her prognosis is unknown, she's choosing to celebrate every second with her family.
I mean, they're just so perfect.
Laura Levine, WREL News, Durham.
Students at one HBCU continue to occupy a campus building and protest over housing conditions.
Hundreds of school districts are rolling back mask mandates, including some in South Carolina.
And a man loses his fried chicken to a different kind of home invasion. We'll tell you what that's about right after this.
Listen, you're my friend.
I noticed you haven't really been yourself recently.
Yeah, I feel like something's up.
How are you?
Are you okay?
Is there anything you want to talk about?
I just want to know how you're feeling.
And listen, even if you don't know what to say, I'm here to talk.
No matter what you're going through,
I just want you to know I'm here.
I've got your back. When you want to talk, I'm here.
Students at Howard University have been occupying a campus building for more than a month in a protest about living conditions in school housing. Now adding to their concerns, flooding in a dorm that appears to have led to mold. Justin Hinton of WJLA has the story.
It's soaked.
Video Friday, captured by freshman Chandler Robinson, shows the mess dozens of students in Howard's College Hall South are now facing.
We were informed that the fourth floor through the first floor on the right side of the building had flooded.
At the same time, she's also one of the students occupying the Blackburn Center to protest living conditions and a range of other issues. Students say persistent mold was one issue they wanted administrators to address.
It's very tiring to be in the sort of fight or flight state for 33 days. And then on top of that, having to go back to your dorm and ensure that your belongings are not damaged or that your friends are in distress because their belongings were damaged.
Fortunate, her things weren't destroyed and she's able to stay in her room. But it's not the same for others. The school saying on Friday, quote, all students impacted have been offered temporary housing within the building. Campus apartment staff are also working with the impacted students to identify what was lost and search for ways to support their recovery. The statement never said what caused the flooding, just that campus apartments responded to the fourth floor and immediately notified maintenance technicians. It also said a remediation team began working around the clock to remedy the situation. And a contractor started drying the walls and checking for moisture in affected areas.
I do think that us taking over Blackburn has changed how they deal with these issues, and I'm very grateful for it. Had we not occupied Blackburn and occupied the Blackburn Student Center for so long, that these precautions would not have been taken and that mold would then have grown in my dorm.
Howard University officials now say they have reached an agreement to end the month-long sleep-in at the University Center. They say a mold remediation team has been working around the clock to correct the situation. They'll release details of this agreement later this week.
The White House estimates that nearly 1 million kids ages 5 to 11 have received their first COVID-19 vaccine so far. This comes as school mask mandates are starting to disappear in some school districts. That's leading experts to encourage more parents to get their children vaccinated. Here's CNN's Mandy Gaither.
Some schools are rolling back mask mandates, but is it too soon?
I mean, the masks are like uncomfortable, but it's for safety. If I wear my mask, that means I get to see my friends. I'll just wear a mask.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines have not changed. Students, staff, teachers, and visitors to K-12 schools are recommended to wear masks indoors regardless of vaccination status, just as kids 5 to 11 years old are now eligible to get their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine.
Getting vaccinated also helps keep our schools open, children's sports going, and helps our children maintain a more normal lifestyle.
A review of school records finds hundreds of districts around the country have made masks optional, including some schools in Georgia, Louisiana, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky, often citing declines in COVID-19 cases. But experts say the virus is still a threat to young children.
Larger numbers of children and adolescents have been getting infected, and too many of those children have been getting seriously ill and sadly even dying.
The Ohio Department of Education says about 68% of school districts there have dropped mask mandates, and in Texas, schools aren't even allowed to require masks, although some districts like Dallas have ignored the state and kept the mandates. For today's Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A nonprofit is suing the state of Colorado because the state intends to levy fines against schools that use Native American mascots, starting in 2022. In their lawsuit, the group calling themselves the Native American Guardians Association is calling the fines discriminatory and unconstitutional. Marissa Armas talked to both sides about the controversy.
This is cancel culture. Whatever reason, they're trying to cancel out our heritage, our history.
A Colorado law that the Native American Guardians Association says is discriminatory and unconstitutional.
The Native American Guardians Association thinks the tribal imagery and icons are helpful to keeping Native Americans as part of the public square and in the culture.
Starting June 1st, 2022, the state will fine public schools, colleges, and universities $25,000 a month for their use of American Indian-themed mascots. But NAGA says this ban unlawfully enacts state-sanctioned race discrimination, which is why the group is is suing several Colorado leaders.
And that even when a name might be somewhat offensive to some groups, that there is a purpose to reappropriate or reclaim an image or an icon that might be offensive to some.
But still, many natives believe the mascots are disrespectful.
It's been proven that the language and the logos, the dehumanization harms the mental health and stability of children.
While NAGA wants to toss the law, University of Colorado Denver professor Simon Moya Smith says this ban is a small step in the right direction to addressing systemic racism.
Indigenous mascots enable racism and racist behavior, and that needs to stop. It's not okay to dehumanize Indigenous people. It's not okay to caricaturize us or commodify us.
The state of Colorado has yet to formally respond to the lawsuit. A spokesperson for Colorado Governor Jared Polis says they do not comment on pending litigation.
A Californian man had a shocking surprise when he found some uninvited guests at his home last month. 3 bears had invaded his property. While the mama was outside watching the house, her 2 cubs were inside ransacking the home and eating the man's fried chicken. It sounds funny, but it was also pretty scary.
Imagine John Holden's surprise when he came home around lunchtime on October 28th and saw that he wasn't the only one who was hungry.
I see a bear in my kitchen and he's eating my Kentucky Fried Chicken.
When Holden first arrived, he saw his front door open and then spotted Mama Bear sitting outside. Holden tells us she wouldn't leave, so he just ran past her up the stairs into the house.
I was very concerned about my pets at the time, so I guess I just wasn't thinking clearly. I just wanted to get in here and make sure that they were okay.
While one cub devoured his bucket of chicken on the kitchen counter, Holden saw another one ransacking the house. Meantime, he realized that one of his parakeets was missing, and so was his dog Woody. But first, Holden was focused on getting the bears out.
I did everything I can to make noise to try to get them to leave. They were very stubborn.
Fortunately, after a few minutes, the 2 cubs decided to make an exit and join their mama outside.
They were very happy. They definitely enjoyed their visit here to my house.
Holden then turned his attention to finding his pets. Sadly, his parakeet Ditka is gone, but Woody is back home. Turns out he was able to get out of the house when the bears came in. A neighbor driving by found him and brought him back. Holden is thankful his family wasn't home when the cubs arrived. Although bears are part of his community in Sierra Madre, he'll be making sure they won't be making themselves comfortable inside again.
Definitely make sure that all your doors and windows are securely fastened when you have fresh food in the house that a bear can smell, especially KFC.
Reporting in Sierra Madre, Rachel Kim, KCAL 9 News.
If you've ever been on Instagram and looked up only to realize you wasted your hours scrolling, you're not alone. So the social media site is testing a new feature meant to help people take control of their time. It's called Take a Break, and it reminds people when they've spent a long stretch on the app. Users need to opt in and choose how long they can browse before the alarm rings. The feature is in the testing phase for certain users right now. Instagram says it may launch wider next month. Take a Break comes as Instagram and its parent company Meta, formerly Facebook, face scrutiny over social media and mental health. A former Facebook employee recently leaked documents that included internal research showing the company is aware of ongoing negative effects, especially for young people.
A stunning victory on the pitch in Florence, South Carolina for Braves soccer.
Andrew Thrift is up next to tell us how some UNCP teams are looking ahead to the postseason.
Plus, basketball season gets underway with some mixed results for Brave Nation. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, Brave Nation. 2 weeks ago, we told you how Mount Olive University gave Braves soccer their only conference loss of the season, and it was at home. But the Braves had sweet revenge on the road Sunday, when they blanked Mount Olive in the Conference Carolina Tournament Final. The Braves snapped the Trojans' 21-game winning streak with this 3-0 victory. Alexis Pittman was the star of the show with the first and last goal of the game. Riley Searing had a goal in the 35th minute. It's the team's first year in Conference Carolinas, and you could say they've really made a name for themselves. The team now heads to the NCAA postseason, facing former Peach Belt Conference rival Flagler College at a neutral site in Columbus, Georgia on Friday. The women's basketball team hosted Coker University in their season opener Friday night in a non-conference matchup that did not disappoint. The Braves led in points throughout the contest, scoring double digits in the 4 quarters. Alcina Purnell had a game-best 23 points. Transfer Lillian Flantos of Lumberton saw her first points for the Braves, finishing the night with 7, plus 5 rebounds and 2 assists. Final score, 66-51. The next night was not great though. The Braves hosted Wingate University and could not break the curse of the last 7 outings against the Bulldogs. Both teams were scoreless in the first quarter until the Bulldogs broke the ice in the 7th minute. Gabby Smith scored a team-high 11 points for the Braves, but Wingate was up by 11 in the 3rd quarter and up by 10 again in the 4th quarter. The Braves trimmed it to a 7-point deficit but ran out of steam and out of time for a final score of 66-59. Coach Haskins said that after the game that the team has to work on their mindset and their approach to the game.
Just gotta commit to coming out every night and guarding and guarding every possession. You know, I tell kids all the time. I think, you know, basketball's a flowing game. So you offense, defense, but that's not how you gotta play. You gotta play. Okay, we gotta get a stop here. Now we gotta get a good shot here. You know, instead of letting it all run together.
The women head up I-95 tomorrow night to face Fayetteville State University, whose men's team will travel here. Speaking of the men's side, the Braves are 2-0 as they were able to comfortably beat Newbury and Catawba in the Conference Carolina SAC Challenge over the weekend. The Braves knocked off the Newbury Wolves 85-76 Friday night when freshman Trenton McIntyre logged a career-best 22 points. They then proceeded to beat Catawba 92-68 on Saturday. Transfer Dion Berrien led the team with 18 points. The Braves look for their 3rd win as they host the Fayetteville State Broncos tomorrow night at 7 o'clock for Bleed Black and Gold night. Braves football almost squeaked out a season-ending win over Concord University in West Virginia Saturday. It was a little bit back and forth, but the Braves were holding their own. They kept the Mountain Lions scoreless in both the 2nd and 4th quarter, but a fumble on the 8-yard line with only 15 seconds left in the game sealed their fate, 28-25. Quarterback Josh Jones accumulated more than 400 yards of total offense, but the Mountain Lions forced 6 turnovers, including a blocked punt attempt late in the 3rd quarter. It was UNCP's first season in the Mountain East Conference, their first season in any conference actually. How do we bring you some of our great game coverage over the week? Well, that's often the work of mass comm majors who are interning at UNCP's Department of Athletics. CNT reporter Brandon Hodge is one of those interns, and he tells us it takes more than a few to keep all their broadcasts going and to produce a constant stream of work product.
The UNCP Sports Network broadcasts a variety of athletic events through YouTube. However, this season, the interns that usually help with the production of these broadcasts are at a shortage.
There are a lot of sports events that we have going on, especially coming up once we get through winter into the second half of the winter season and into second semester. We'll have the spring sports going on. So we have interns do all facets of broadcasting where they get to focus on the camera work, the videography. They get to work on the producing aspect where they can get to produce a live sports broadcast, which a lot of people coming out of college, especially in the broadcasting field, can't say that they have that experience. So it's a great experience for the interns to be able to do all the things that we have them do. We have about 8 interns right now, and you have to be able to work around everybody's schedule. So everybody has other stuff going on, and especially as students, you got schoolwork. I mean, I've been there, know that. And having the low amount, only 8 kids, when you need 3 for a normal broadcast to have 2 cameras and a producer operating. And then if you want to do the broadcasting part where you have a color commentator or whatnot, you add more and more that you would need for a broadcast.
Athletic Communications Director Morgan Sheehan further explains why these interns are so important.
Last year with COVID, we weren't allowed to have any fans that were in attendance of games, and so having the interns allowed us to live stream every single home athletic event that we had, which for people not to come to games, our fans could still be involved. for those people that are interested in becoming an intern with the the UNCP Sports Network, students can email myself, morgan.sheehan@uncp.edu, and we will get you set up, and we would love to have any intern that is willing to help us out and continue to make the UNCP Sports Network great.
For Carolina News Today, I'm Brandon Hodge.
Thanks to Athletic Communications for continuing to support broadcast education at UNCP. And with that, we're out of here. I'm Andrew Thrift.
And I'm Jayla Coley. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with Michaela Trace next week. Until then, go Braves!